So I am about to get evicted. At 25 years old, I honestly feel like I missed out on a lot. Like I already explained this in a few other videos, but I lost my job in the middle of June. I had originally moved out in the middle of 2022. That was when I started living by myself. I lived in a shitty place for a year, and that shit was horrible. They had roaches, inconsistent maintenance. You call for different problems. It takes somebody forever to come in, and it would always be somebody different. There was one time in the winter the AC wasn't working. The the AC was still cold in the winter, and and there was another time where it smelled like raw sewage every time I turned the AC on. You could hear every step the neighbors took upstairs. And in mid 2023, after a year, I moved to the place I'm at right now. And I lived here for 2 years. The entire neighborhood is only one-story buildings. The same maintenance guy who lives here, the landlady lives here. Occasional centipedes, spiders, sometimes super tiny ants. Nothing major. And after being here for 2 years, I renewed my lease in June of this year, just a week before I lost my job randomly. I turned it in early, but the last day that I could turn in my lease, a mere 3 days later, is when I lost my job randomly. I was doing DoorDash full time, very inconsistent, but hey, what can you say? A lot of people get let go from jobs randomly, and a lot of people looking for jobs right now aren't getting them very quickly, especially not ones that pay very well. So yeah, the rug was basically pulled from underneath me. The job never paid much. I had to work like 56 hours a week, 8 hours a day in order to stay afloat. And that's to just barely pay for stuff, just to make it through every week without extra unexpected stuff like emergencies. And I remember there was one week where I worked 12 hours on Monday and then 12 hours next day on Tuesday. That was in probably late 2023 or early 24. I think late 23. So yeah, the pay was pretty low. I did a million things to try and get that job back. Then I shifted and also did a million things to reach out to local jobs. They pay extremely low, but I mean, what can you do? I would call people and they would have me jump through other hoops. I would call and end up talking to a manager on duty, for example, at Burger King, and they would say the lady who picked up said she didn't handle hiring, and called and asked for this person. I would call the guy, and then he said, call a woman who's a hire manager. I called the next day, found her. She told me to call another guy by name, but he's going through bereavement right now. So then call the next day, and then all the way the whole week. And then I'm back on the same guy at the beginning. So call another place, and they told me to come in for an interview. Taco Bell, actually. They told me after the interview, this is the number for the person who handles hiring. I reach out to that woman. She didn't call me back. Well, I texted her and then calls her at some point. She didn't call me back when I called the actual phone number, her personal phone number that was given to me. So then I call the restaurant and then ask somebody else and then she picks up, and then we schedule something later, and then I call the restaurant, and then a guy picks up, and I ask her where the manager is, and he says she's busy and to call back around close. And then I call around close when the restaurant's about to close, and then I don't think I got a call, but then I think she told me to call tomorrow or whatever the fuck she said. I don't think she even picked up late at night, but I called the next day, and then I don't even remember clearly, but then she told me to redo my entire application when I was able to get a hold of her. But instead of the daytime position, I already did redo the entire application, but for the overnight position. And basically, I had to use lawyer level negotiations for the first interview to explain why I deserve $13 an hour, a measly, parsley amount. And then I would get to the right person, like the manager that specifically handles candidates or something, by calling them back the next day, 2 days later, and they would give me the runaround again and shit like that. I went to McDonald's I went to Taco Bell for my interview, and that same day I took a different Uber because I didn't have a car at that point to go to McDonald's for an interview I scheduled that same day. And there was a bigger guy, who said the person who does interviews is not there because it was scheduled online automatically. So I don't know why they didn't have this organized if the system automatically gave me an interview. So I already did not have a car at that point. So I took a Uber to Taco Bell, did the interview, go to McDonald's, and then right after walking in there, I have to go home. I had the Uber, do a U-turn and pick me up right away and drive me back home. And it's like the juice is really not worth the squeeze with these local jobs. You're doing all that to not even get paid enough to live, and you have to physically go there too and deal with people and other bullshit. So late August and September, I've been going into online work. I've been specking into that, looking into that, and the amount of stuff I had to apply for, like just benefits and food stamps and like that whole process. They want me to physically go somewhere before it can get activated. Well, it'll be activated automatically, but after a certain time, I have to go somewhere. And I told them I don't have that. And then trying to apply for unemployment, that did not go through. And then just the amount of stuff and trying to get help with rent. And yeah, there's life is stressful when you don't have a lot of money, when you can't pay for stuff. Don't let anybody fool you. And that's what I've been saying in older videos, even when I had a job. And yeah, I don't, my morality is not based on like stuff I've seen on movies. My reality is based on the world I've seen around me. That's the conclusion I came to a few years ago, like 2022, 23-ish. So, power is what does things in this world. But let me not go into that. But let me not go too off topic. But there's a lot of traveling. Let's talk about missed opportunities, I guess, if you want to call it that. There's a lot of people I've seen my age who have done a lot of traveling by now. Just so many people, content creators and people in real life. Not even just traveling abroad, but just traveling to other states by themselves with their own money and stuff. Like there's a lot of traveling that I would have liked to have done by this point in time at 25. I've never even been on a plane before. Like And like I could have uploaded so many songs too. I have like a million videos where I was just sitting in my car saying words into the freaking microphone and just tapping on my steering wheel or the side of the handle to make a beat or something. Or I'm at home or even walking outside and I sing something and to me these ideas sound good if they were put into song form. And a big part of why I couldn't do that is because after moving out, they were there was so much working that I had to do, and it's just like I had freaking so many ideas I wanted to talk about as well. Like just talking head videos, things that were on my mind. I have like a billion paragraphs in these notes sections. Like if I had money and time, I could have even invented so much stuff. Like there's like 1 million ideas I had written down ever since I was like 16 or 15 years old. So like nearly over a decade in the making. And I had like a lot of videos for anime that I wanted to make, or at least a webtoon or something like that, even if it's not animated. So like so many stories that I think would have been very powerful had they been put out already. But the thing is, whatever stage I'm at is like the thing I came to realize is that whatever stage I'm at right now is where I'm meant to be. So I guess I would like to go back in time someday and relive all of that. But instead I just have when I go back in time, if I was to hypothetically, it would be that second time around, I would actually have the opportunity, time, and money to actually achieve my goals at an earlier stage in life. So that I can achieve those goals at the rate that I actually wanted to achieve them and not be where I'm at right now at 25. But that would be cool. That would be nice. That and even awesome, in fact. And I was able to pay my rent 100% on time for all the time that I've lived here, and even the last place. So this would be my first eviction in my life that I've ever had on my record. So, and my bank account's about to get closed unless I 100x my money in the stock market. So, I'm just glad the market is hot now but there's a chance I won't be able to come up with enough money. There was actually someone who agreed to pay my rent on like a church, and I spoke with them like more than 2 weeks ago, but that was on the condition they said I had to come up with a little over I had to come up with $306 before September 19th. and I had to email them a ledger from my current apartment complex and proof that I paid for a certain amount of time. And, you know, so I had to pay that this month for them to cover all of October. So, I mean, that's fine. I don't think I'll be able to. My bank account was also in the negative, as I said before. So they said it might be closed between 30 to 60 days. So between October 1st and November 1st. And I had to push back my electricity payment, my car payment that I still pay on my car that has been broken, a car that's been busted for multiple years. I entered this slave contract basically in 2020 of August, and I've been paying that consistently on time for over 5 years, every month, even though I haven't drove the car since like 2023 probably. So this will be my first month in October where I'm unable to pay that as well. And the first week of September was really my last week panicking because, I lost hair due to stress from June up until like that August arena. Because like for months, I just didn't even want to live through this. Like I didn't even want to go through anything like this type of videos I was watching and stuff like that. I was really pessimistic. And before this whole thing, I told myself I would never get into that stage again. But this stuff has never happened to me. But I'm just glad that I'm swinging back up, a swing. But then I had an epiphany like the next week after that. And it was at a point where I just don't care anymore. Like you can see me smiling. It's because I'm working it out. Like it is what it is. Like I can't make money appear out of thin air. So yeah, I even called the Wi-Fi company to cancel that just to inquire about that when it actually ends. They reduced my monthly bill from 50 something dollars all the way up to down to like around $20 to pay every month from here on out. And they said only as long as I can push through it, I'll be able to keep that low price. But if I cancel it now, I'll have to get a higher price when I come back. Only issue is I can't make money appear out of thin air. So, well, I can, if I was to do the closest thing to that, that would be fraud. That would be counterfeit, which is a felony. I don't really know what you want me to tell you. I don't really know anything other than that. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, I have, I have a certain tooth and there's a crown that they can put inside of it because there was something that arrived from Amazon, 3 sauces, and they were all in glass containers and the driver was reckless. But I tried to use the sauce anyway from the broken container. So I was using it with macaroni. So I had pain. I had that pain that started. I felt a sharp pain. So then it's still there sometimes when I eat or when I breathe in, when I inhale through my mouth. So I've had pain in my upper left tooth ever since like April of 2024. It's not covered, so it'll cost $1,000 to put a crown on that tooth. And the dentist told me in June of this year that she's been telling me about this for many years, which is not accurate. She told me many years, even though it's only something that only started in early 2024, which means it's still less than 2 years. But this was during an appointment I went. Yeah, that was during the appointment I went to in June 19th, which was actually one day after I lost my job on June 18th at 2 p.m. I was finished the order and I was waiting for the next one. It's not like I don't want to get the crown. It's just that, again, I don't really readily have $1,000 available at the drop of a hat. Like, somebody tell these people, I don't have a successful medical practice, unlike some people. I don't have all this other stuff, at least not yet. There was one night I was about to go to bed, but for some reason I decided to go back to YouTube super late. This was about a week ago. Yeah. At around 4:30 a.m., even though I told myself I would shut YouTube off, I came back on my phone. There were 2 YouTube Shorts videos, and one of them was from Alan Watts, the first one on the left, and it was so interesting. I started listening to him many years ago, but on this night I saw, I clicked on this video that was recommended to me. I hadn't listened to anything from him in a while. He was talking about like, what if you actively entered this dream world where you could live an entire lifetime and you lived a perfect life many times already, but you want to live a real life this time and you want those problems that will make life more interesting. And this is something I thought of years ago, but it wasn't the exact same way when I thought about it years ago. Years ago, like I did, because I grew up super religious. I did something years ago no Christian was supposed to do, and I put myself in the position of God. Like, and I wonder why that's not allowed. So, I said if I created my own perfect world, I probably wouldn't want it to be perfect all the time. So, I mean, I was just trying to think for like what would be God's reasoning if there was one God that had all this power for creating problems. Because if it was perfect, I'm pretty sure it would get pretty boring pretty fast. And I also said to myself, if I was to go back in time and relive stuff in my life, I would I would have to find like fond childhood memories. I would have to find some way to know that I wasn't traveling back in time. That way everything feels new and unique. Maybe in that same way, like success, maybe success is guaranteed in the future, so I don't need to worry about it. Like I just don't know, like in this reality, like physically, it's just that I just don't know that success is guaranteed. But what if I do believe that it's guaranteed? Like that is what part of what changed my mindset recently. And it's like I noticed that something I noticed that was really interesting about the world is that even though I would create problems, I know that if I was to see God face to face or any creation force, um, I I'm not worshiping them. If I was to meet God face to face, yeah, I'm not going to bow down just because you created things. Like in reality, this is just a spinning rock. Like at some point, you got to close the book so you can move on to the next one, or maybe you close the book so that you can get up and leave the room. Maybe there is no book afterwards. Maybe there is no where to go. You don't go to another room. I mean, what do I know? So, for certain, what I do know for certain though is that we are on a spinning rock. Period. Like if I had infinite power, I wouldn't need to eat food. I wouldn't need to eat food because I wouldn't be hungry. Like I wouldn't know what it's like to have my energy restored because I would always be energized. I could teleport into space. You know, well, technically we're always in space, but I could go into space and be able to breathe. Well, I would breathe and I wouldn't have to suffocate, and I could grow giant like Galactus, and I could fly and all this. And I thought to myself how that would be a little boring, although that would be nice. Just like being rich, like let's not act like being rich is just going to become super horrible or you're just going to become desensitized. Like that's a good life, no matter how long you have to live it. And don't pretend like you have to be in intense poverty and just like I don't know. It's kind of this balancing act where I can admit having a lot of stuff go good for you can get dull, but also living in poverty is bad. Like it is. Like don't act like you need that in order to realize, quote unquote, this importance to life. But the good thing is, months before I lost my job, I started studying finances and money in February because in January of this year, I got stuck in the snow when there was that snowstorm that was like 10, 6, 8, 10, 12 inches. I was delivering McDonald's to a security worker super late at night. Snow was falling. I had to drive slow. I made a certain turn because I thought the snow was shallow, but I eventually got stuck on a curb that I couldn't see and I could not back out. I had to call and pay someone to pull me out just a few feet. I had to pay 130, 108, whatever. I said when he was coming, I said, I'm never doing this in the snow again. I'll have another job by that time, whatever I have to go through. So it's good to know I'm working on that. I mean, even back then as a teenager, I was focused on ways to make money in high school, online and offline. But then that sort of just fell to the wayside in favor of me just goofing around with YouTube. Although I would have said I was focused on, I really wasn't. And then losing focus on actually making money because I was focused on girls and stuff. Not really girls until I was like 21, 22. But yeah, early on it was just like my consumption of adult material really, and I got into fitness as well. My consistency with that took away from money, and you can be focused on different things, but it's just that my time wasn't being managed that well, and with all the stuff that's been happening to me, I do think the upside is that I have learned to appreciate very small things, and I'll be more appreciative of small things going forward, and I'm going to move somewhere else into a house. So yeah, there's too much good to focus on the bad. I'll focus on the good.